let us take a particular field and focus on it. There are some extra attribute that we are going to work with around test field. We are still on test field, right? So what we'll need to do is, one, be able to agree that what test we are going to work over here is going to be password. So I want to focus on password. So we are enter your your five five length pin, right? So we are trying to coordinate this so that it will be a five web pin. So let's stop at example 1 2 3 4 5, and then we are going to remove the obscure. Yeah, let's bring it back. Right, we are now obscure true now. So we've seen all this in already. Now the maximum length should be 5, right? So let me say so let me uncomment this one as well, right? Now let me do this. All right, so now I can enter your 5 length pin, right? That's the thing that is there. Oh, that's not what I was supposed to write. That this is enter your password basically, and then an example is going to be this one. Let's restart that. Let's restart everything. Right, so enter your password. So when you click on it, we are going to enter our password, right? We made obscure to be true. Now let's start from there. Now obscure is true, right? By default, when you enter, right, you will be seeing this particular dot that will be replacing the values, but we can change that. Let's change that first, that we don't want the dot all the time. We want to use another thing. So that's where we are still at the level of Textfield, right? Where obscure and listening are the same level. But let me just put this under obscure immediately. So obscure, we also have obscure character, obscure, obscuring character. By default, it is the dot. But right now, we are going to change it to, you see most people use star. So let's use star if you want to change it to star. All right, let me refresh everything for capital R. Down. So we are starting now. This time when I enter something, you see it's now changing back to star instead, right? The star instead of the default dot. You can change this to any keyword that you want, like mm, let's change it to the and sign, right? The and sign, or let's say nothing. Let me put nothing there and see. um R obscure test. Let me start again. Yes, so there's nothing inside. First, let me just go back and put some we are experimenting, right? Let me put the and sign inside, right? So let's go with this. Okay, so with that inside, what are we going to have? So I can enter anything and it's going to be the and sign, right? And sign. But then which one do you like? I'm going back to this star, like this kind of the default, right? So let's restart this thing with the star. So now when I enter, is going to be replaced by the star. Okay, now this is good. Let me refresh this. Now you see that when we start, so that's the focus there. That's the first thing we change. Now the next focus is that this color, the color of the border, right? The color of the border is just by default. So there are two things you need to keep in mind when it comes to the test field. Currently, I did not put the cursor inside. I didn't click on it. So by clicking on it, meaning you are focused. So when you focus on it, you yeah, there's a certain way you focus on it, there's a certain way you don't focus on it. So what we want to do is that when we are not focused on it, the border line, the line surrounding it should have a different color. And when we are focused on it, right? When we are focused on it, then the line, the line inside should be another color. Then if there's error message, the error definitely it's going to be red, right? Okay, but then let's start with one by one. Right now, if our mind should go to this place, border. When you just have border and then outline input border, what we are trying to do is that we are just trying to put this line. Remember how this one we got it, right? Let me remove it. and then you see I commented the borderline. It becomes straight here like this, but it doesn't surround the whole thing, right? But when you bring it back, when you bring it back, it kind of introduces the closed border across the whole distance, right? And it's still gray, right? Now we want, there are two states now, whether we are focused on it or we are not focused on it. So if we are not focused on it, right, let me do enabled. You do you change the border, just border to enabled border, enabled border. The B is capital B now, enabled border, and then we are going to put that. This means that one enabled border, right? It means that this one basically means when we are not focused on it, basically. That's what it does. Let me do this. So when we are not focused on it, right, this particular borderline, but when we focus on it, the surrounding borderline is gone. Because what we have here, what we have set here is when the state is not focused, right? Enable just worries about the state, the borderline when it is not focused, right? So now let's refresh this. What if we want to still keep the same borderline when it is focused? Because we want to give different colors when it is not focused and when it is focused. For when it is focused, we have something called focused border. It follow the same paths way like outline input border, like the other guy, and put a comma, right? So now these are the two. This one is when we are not selecting, when we haven't selected it, and this is when we have selected the particular text field, this particular text field. So let me come back to this. Now you see it's open, right? When I click on it, yeah, it still keeps the borderline. That's so this focus mode, and then it is using this one. And when it's not on focus mode, like it is not focus mode, then it will be using this one. Okay, but then there's no much different. Border was giving us this by default, right? But here we want to keep different states. When it is not focused, we want to use a different color, right? So for that, we are going to search into I'm going to open the outline border, input border, and then I'm going to use border side. So we are going to call border side. So border side. So we call border size basically here, put a comma, and then we are going to have something like color, and the color is colors dot green. Let me just call green for that one. So what we mean is that if we are not focused, we are going to use the border to be green, right? So let me see. Let's refresh this. So it start. You see that it's green now. It's green. Now we can increase the width of that border side, the color. So you have something called width. So 3.0, for example, 3.0, right? So we can do 2.0 or 1.0 based on what you want to decide that you want. So I'm making it bigger. So you see, it became thicker. It became thicker. So that's the focus when it's not focus mode. So when it's not focus mode, this is all that we set here. So that yeah, so that basically that's what it does, right? So now let me go and focus on it. You see, it changes back to original thing because for the focus one, we didn't set anything yet. We haven't set anything yet. So when we are focused on it, it goes back to the default colors. So we also need to change that, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this, right? Copy this. I'm copying this and I'm going to open this one for the focus and paste it inside, right? I'm going to give it a different color. For the different color, I'm just going to open this and then select, let's say blue. I'm keeping the width as well like that. The width as well like that. So border side and blah blah blah. Let me go to the next line, make them be on the next line for better visualization. So yep, that's what we have. Let me do R restart. So now the start is green, right? When I focus on it now, it become blue, right? The color that we set over there. You can see that's the way of setting the different color for focus mode and then non-focus mode if you want to. But if you don't want, you can just leave it to border like originally. But this is we understanding what happens in the various states. Now we need to focus on error messages, right? Okay. Now these are all input border, enable border and things. But then we are talking about input decoration. We are still as an input decoration. We have the label text, right? Label text. All decorations are going to be so error message is going to be somewhere here. All right. So after the hint text, right? Let me call here um border decorations. Let's comment that with border decorations. So the border decorations goes here, right? Yeah, these are border decorations. Now let me call error text. So you can select error border when the how the border will behave when it is there's an error, or we are going to use the default one, error text, the text that we are going to put there. By default, it is now. If it is now, then let me refresh. Then if it is now, then the default enable all the border and this thing all take place. But if you put a string message, if there's an actual message there, message. So let me say error message here now, right? So if it is not now, what let's see what happens. You see now for error message, you can see the border and everything is gone. Error message is now red, right? Error message takes over. So error message take over and the surrounding border this thing is also gone. This tells us that okay, we need to set something as well. Error border, right? We have enable border, whatever border, right? So let me just copy, let me borrow from these guys. Let me borrow from this guy. Let me do input border decoration. Yes, input border decoration. Input, what's the thing is hiding from me? Outline input order. Outline input border. Basically, I'm just going to keep this one. Let's, whenever there's an error, the error overrides, like it has priority over the rest. See, you see what happens, right? Okay. Now let's just put a border size and all that. I'm going to give that one color red. Control copy. When there is an error, Control V. Yeah, so I'm going to open. I like opening my things like this, everything on a different line to just make sure that I'm able to read well, right? So this is the error border, right? For the error border, I'm going to set it to red, I guess. Yeah, picking this one. So let's restart. Yeah, so this is the color red if there's an error. But then if there's no error, this normal enable border and focus border will play their games. So error has priority over the rest. So error first, the enable border and this thing. But if there's no error, so this error is in line with this guy, right? Right. Only this error border will only be activated if this one is containing a message. Error text is containing the message, and you see how it shows automatically. So what we are going to do is that we are going to make it now for now and see that okay, if error text now, so if I make it now, what happens is it will leave it right and now focus on enable border and focus border. So if I click on, you see the color change, enable and but then if there's an error, if the error is a particular message, then the error will take over. But we need to make this thing dynamic. We need to make this thing dynamic. So now for this our case, what we're going to do is that we are asking for 5 keywords, right? When the person is typing and it's not yet up to five, we need to make it red until the thing is met, the condition is met, where all the 5 are entered, basically, right? So yeah, that's what we need to do right now. That's what we need to set. Should we do it in this one or we do it in the next session? I think we should do it in the next session so that everything is not bad. But this is where we'll pick it from the next time, right? Where we'll actually set the password. But right now, let's understand how these borders and things are working for the various cases, right? This is very, very important. Now we can close this thing, right? So you have to go to the, I'm on this line, you need to go to this side. See, like this is on my line 49. Error border is on my 40 line. There's an arrow here. I can close this arrow, right? If I close this arrow, it makes it's there. If I want to open it, I can open it, right? And then I can close it just to make sure that the things are inside. I don't have to worry about it yet. So this one too is also long, right? So I will just close it here because when you're done with something, you can close it. This one too, I'm done with it. I'm done with it, so I can close this one. So you see, um, so if I this is easier to read now. So or you can, so this one is also part. So I can close this decoration, right? So this decoration now part of this side, right? When you are done, test field is also one. You can just close the test field. So this test field here, easier to read. Then elevator button too, I can close it. So when you are done with something, you can work with it like this, right? So right now, one is now easier to read. So in the body, we have a padding, and then in the padding is giving this around it to prevent the edge meeting, right? And then we have a column. Inside the column, we are centering everything. That's why it's at the center here. And then the children of this column, right, is a test field and an elevator button. So we can see this test field here and an elevator button. Based on the one you want to work on, you need to go and open it, right? So if you want to work on the elevator button alone, you can go there and then change get here. Let's get password, password basically, right? Then I'm going to see the output get password now. So I know that I'm done working on this one. So I will just go and close it. So right, it's now easy visible like okay, this particular column has two children, like text field and the elevator button. And then if based on the one you want to, you are go and activate. When I open this one, I can see this inside. These are the basic default stuff inside that I've set. And I also have to see here that okay, now I want to work in the decoration. You can open the decoration and then see the decoration inputs. Yeah, the general decoration, input decoration. Then inside the input decoration, I can see the busy things, and then the error border too. You can expand to see how the error border goes. You can see open the enable border, and then you can open the focus border, right? But then for readability, based on what you are focusing on, you can be making use of these arrows to help you see where things are, and then that like that. So this is border side. So error border. Let me close this one. Okay, enable border, focus border. I want to close the error border. So if we enclose, right? And then decorations here, I want to close it. And then the decoration inside this test field, right? I want to close this test field so that it will be at a level I can read. Now there are codes hidden inside, but then when you are done, you need to remember to close things like this so that you can know have an idea of what's going on. Or you can do it for column, right? You can open the column. So there's a padding, a body that contains. So this is the body. A body contains padding. So you see, you can do this for app bar. So when you're done with app bar, mostly you need to close it to be see. And this is the scaffold for the whole project. Scaffold. You expand it. You see, okay, this scaffold contains app bar and a body, right? I will not open the app bar. I'm going to the body and open the body. I can see, okay, this app bar contains this padding contains a chart column, and that chart column I can also expand it to see the contents. Then that's how it works. So we'll continue from there next time where we are still working on the test field. Now we'll see when the values change based on what the person entered, how we are going to control it so that there's error message properly showing or not. And then the color of the border also be responding according to the values inside.